help them see clearly. We help them define their purpose. We give them clarity. Be surprised that even for high growth startups, SMEs, they don't necessarily understand the relevance of marketing and branding. So let me tell you what branding is not first, because there's some sort of misconception about branding and marketing. So branding is not your logo, it's not colors, it's not your tagline. Our brand promise is the soul of Africa. The soul of brands in Africa.
Hi, you're welcome to another episode of FemmeBiz with me, Joy Abia. This is a space where we host honest and intelligent conversations with women who are shaping the future of business, policy, impact across Africa and beyond. Today, I have with me Seun Koshuedo, who is the Chief Vision Officer at Xcentrique Media. Now, today's conversation is going to focus on branding, visibility, and strategic positioning as core drivers of business growth, influence, and long-term market power. Hi, Seun.
Hi, Joy.
You're welcome to my space.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Okay, so just before we started this recording, I was going through one of the episodes that is live also on FemmeBiz. And it's where I spoke with Aisha. Her name is Aisha. She's the founder of Hustle Africa.
Okay.
And it's also she focuses on storytelling as well for brands and, businesses in Africa.
Okay.
And, I just going through that episode, I listened to a lot of it, and I was just like, okay, this just gave me the grounding for what we're going to most likely do, like all of the things that we're going to discuss here in this episode.
Okay.
So before I give you the room for introduction, there's just one question I want to ask you before you introduce yourself.
Okay.
Maybe this would even give us an introduction. How important is the work that Xcentrique Media does for an African business?
Okay. So at Xcentrique Media, it has been 7 years in the market. And through 7 years, we have evolved as the market is evolving, the African market is evolving. Today, as I speak to you, we have come to a point where we are establishing ourselves as a marketing innovation or marketing intelligence company for two categories of the market. Mm-hmm. We call them aspiring giants and sleeping giants. And it was based on 7 years of learning that we observed that these are two categories of the market that have been sort of ignored right through the years. And when I say aspiring giant, I'm talking about high growth startups or brands that have been in the market for 5 years or less and are a bit stuck or finding it challenging to evolve or coming into their full potential or scaling sustainably so. And the second category that we call sleeping giants are brands that are or have been in the market for 60 years. Mm-hmm. We have clients that have been in the market for 60 years, 30 years, or even more, but are hanging on a lifeline. So we say that we come on board and we are the doctors that give them some sort of CPR that brings them to life. If you understand what I'm talking about. And it was based on our observation that the full potential of the value that branding and marketing brings to businesses has not yet been realized.
Absolutely.
We come to a market like Nigeria and we see that after 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, a lot of startups or businesses die because they're not able to evolve with the times. They're not able to navigate the trends or the realities of their market. Mm-hmm. Or you see brands that have been here for 30 years or more that are just stuck. They're a bit lifeless, but they're just going, or they're just focused on sales. And the reason why people patronize these brands is because of some sort of nostalgia or emotional attachment that they have with the brand, not because the brand has done anything, any form of activity that just makes people excited to keep on patronizing them. So we're that brand that supports these brands to ensure that they're here for a longer period.
Okay.
In a way that creates some sort of appreciation for these brands, especially in the minds of their customers. So Xcentrique is not a brand for everybody. So if you're an aspiring giant, if a brand is aspiring to be a giant, if you're aspiring to be here for a long time and looking for a partner that is going to ensure that you are abreast with the realities of your market, the ever-evolving market as a result of how fast, technology is transforming different industries. Or if you're that brand that has been here for years and you're finding it difficult to evolve or grow or move with the times, then we are so important to the work that you do. We're so important to ensuring that you're here for a long time.
Amazing.
And the interesting thing about Xcentrique is that we're not here for a story that has already been told or a success story that has already been fulfilled.
Okay.
We're here to be part of that growth or part of that foundation in a way that when you are telling your story, most times we hope that it's going to be for a long time. We're saying that we worked with Xcentrique to make this happen. We're here because Xcentrique worked with us to be here. So we found fulfillment. We found our purpose in that. Then your question, I've taken it in two parts. You mentioned about...
I said, how important is Xcentrique Media to African brands?
Yes, so, I'm picking Africa out of that.
Okay.
Right now, at this point or at this phase, yes, we are for Africa. In the future, that vision might evolve into being more of a global business. But I think the African market is very interesting. Culturally so, behaviorally so. Africa is so diverse. We have a lot of cultures, we have a lot of personalities. In a place like Nigeria, where we have a lot of religion, we have religion, we have a lot of tribes. And as a marketing intelligence company or a marketing innovation company, we're demanded to understand the dynamics or the diversity of the market that we operate in comparison to other markets that they sort of have a unified culture. So a one-size-fits-all approach might apply. But for Africa, it wouldn't work if you apply that strategy here. So we have, it has pushed us to come out of our comfort zone and understand the different markets, what influences the buying decisions of this market, how they think, how they behave, what informs their thoughts, and ensures that we also meet them at the level that they are, where they are, at any point. So it's so interesting. And because we are able to move through any market and understand the different consumer behaviors, we're also able to navigate different industries at different points. In today's world or in today's market, you'll find agencies that are for specific types of industries, right? Maybe food industry, the health industry, or any type of industry. But because because we have positioned ourselves or understood what it really means to be African, we're able to also navigate different industries. And I can confidently say that we have moved through tech, we've moved to health, we've moved to FMCG, we've moved to hospitality, So for us, it has been interesting so far, if we're looking back at the journey of where we started and where we are right now.
Okay, so now this was a very brilliant intro. I wanted to give you the floor to breathe and just tell us, just really get into it, right? So Seun Koshuedo is I'm going to be reading her bio and some of the things that I find that are very crucial to this conversation. She's a force with over 9 years of transformative leadership across Africa's tech, finance, and communication sectors. Of course, she is the Chief Vision Officer and the founder of Xcentrique Media. And now she's been renowned for her bold thinking and business clarity. Seun has led strategic marketing and brand transformation efforts with global technology and impact-driven organizations such as CWG. There's some I can't pronounce here, but Dell Technologies, Daystar Power by Shell, Action MFB, that's Microfinance Bank, right? Then Tomato Juice, Flour Mills of Nigeria, Cyberspace, Baco, Birdview Travels, Press One, and Africa Agility, right?
Yes.
Driving growth across fintech, edtech, and enterprise innovation. Now, at the core of her work is a deep commitment to aligning purpose, positioning, and performance for real business impact. So, Sharon, first of all, I would love for you to now run me through the beginning of Xcentrique Media. You said you started this at 23.
Yes.
First of all, who gave you the courage? Where did you find this? Like how? Let's. I want to know the history. I would love my audience to know.
It's a long story. I hope you have time.
I hope you have time.
Oh, well. Okay, so in terms of who gave me the courage, I think crazy faith, honestly. I'm such a faith-based person, and I was celebrating my 30th birthday the other day, and when my mom was giving her speech, and she said that I didn't raise Seun, like God raised Seun. So literally, yeah, for the past couple of years, I've been somebody that has been raised by God. Was it always going to be entrepreneurship for me? Not necessarily, honestly. If I take you back to my high school days, for me, I was going to be that media girl and what we see as social media influencer. I think that if I had followed that path, I would have been today's social media influencer. Right. So I was going to be that. I loved being in front of the camera. So I was going to be that broadcast girl. High school. Anyway, that was the path I could see for myself. However, getting into university, Babcock, then I studied mass communication. From my first year to my fourth year, I exposed myself to different internships. So that gave me the opportunity to understand the corporate world and how it operates. And in the middle of all of that, I was able to meet people, or had the gift of people that were able to guide and hold my hand, and kind of shape my career where I find myself today. I think the most prominent of my internship experiences would be my third year. University, that was when we had to do like compulsory internship. And I had the opportunity to intern with, it was Glass House Entertainment then, which has evolved into Birdview Communications. Now has evolved into Birdview Travels, and has now evolved into Voyatech Group now. So during that period, I was reporting directly to the CEO, Ayub Alabaido, very young. He started his business at the age of 19. So you imagine being exposed to that kind of energy. So it's like, I'm not settling for less. If somebody can do that, then what's stopping me? And interestingly, during my internship, then AY, as we call him, he had the gift of bringing out the best in people, especially when he sees potential, right? So I was always on my phone, and he knew how to just milk that side of things. You know how in today's world, you see people on their phones, and instead of looking at the brighter side of things or the positive side of things, you just say, oh, you're lazy, or there's some sort of stereotype attached to people that are usually on their phone. But for AOI, it's a bit different, and myself. So then we used to do lots of productions. There was Proposal Show, there was a Legendary Show. And on that show, it had a lot of interesting people. It was produced on DSTV then. So post-production of the Legendary Show, AY says, Seun, Legendary Show is yours to promote. So at that point, we were only beginning to understand the use of social media. Social media was strictly for interactions or social connections. Brands were not necessarily understanding how to use it for corporate communications, for branding, for reputation management, as we see today. It was purely for social interactions. So, AY says or comes to say that this is the Legendary Show and is yours to promote. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to do it. Then as I start doing it, because then I had a lot of friends. So it was just telling somebody that knew somebody to follow the page, engage. And, as traction was growing then on Instagram, particularly organically, because even the introduction of programmatic adverts, as we see today, had not yet been implemented by Meta and Instagram at that point.
Okay.
So it had to be organic. So, it's just make it happen. Then as he began to see the traction, he'll come and he'll give me deadlines. And I love a good challenge.
Okay.
That has the necessary reward attached to it.
Absolutely.
So he comes and says, she'll move to 500 followers. I'm going to double your salary. And hey, doubling my salary at that point, in internships, in a world where internships are not even earning anything or earning like 5,000, I was earning like 30,000. Doubling meant 60,000. So I was going to literally be on a cruise, and that was my ginger to double. Hit 500 and comes and say, hey, Sharon, I'm going to get it to 3,000. I made it happen. He's like,
where
hey,
can we find such challenges again?
And it's like, hey, Sharon, get it to 10,000 and I'm going to triple your salary, and made it happen. Then, we used to use a lot of hashtag, whatever campaign you're implementing on Snapchat. I think I pulled the whole of Babcock to support me then and made it happen. And then we introduced like different challenges. It was very interesting. I mean, I have all the terms and the words for it right now, but then we were only beginning to understand the influence and the impact of social media particularly. So we're just being creative because of the reward that was attached. So sincerely, in summary, it has a lot of interesting story to it. That was the defining moment for me. Across board. It felt exciting to be part of building something from the scratch and growing it and seeing people accept it. And at that point, the word got out somehow that, there's this girl that can build and can just make things happen for you. And if you need to build your social media, if you need to grow it organically, like, she's your girl. So at that point, at post-internship, I had people reaching out to me, to build their social, but I couldn't manage both that school and work and work at the same time. But something had a passion, a purpose had already been stamped in my heart that this is really what I wanted to build things, right? And my stepfather then said he had seen a vision of me building things, but for him, he had seen me in the real estate or development.
Wow. Okay.
Development industry, right? But I felt that I was supposed to build things, but it was more building companies and building businesses. So post-university, 400 level, interned at Inspiration FM. Then during service year, I had about 5 different brands that I was working with while serving. And for me, that was going to be it after service. As soon as service was done, I was going to start my company, because then we did not actively have a lot of agencies managing the reputation or comms for businesses on social or on digital. It was more of the traditional form of media or traditional form of marketing. We had a few, about 2, ID Africa, Penzerville at that point. But for me, it was being a pace setter where this is concerned, focusing on the brands that needed this visibility or needed that form of growth in a way that it was impactful for their business or to their business at the end of the day. So during service, like I mentioned, I had about 5 different brands that were paying like 100,000, and that's literally cruise. Then salary was 18,000, I think. How much they were paying, like call members, exactly.
I think 19.5.
Yeah, exactly. It was thereabouts. So imagine having 100,000 to 19.5. It was lit for me. But in the middle of that, so that's when I talk about the importance or relevance of mentorship and how it has shaped my experience as well. So in the middle of that, my mentor, because AY, remember, called me and says, what do you want to do? What are you thinking about? And I'm like, for me, I'm going to just run my own company and make things happen as soon as I'm done.
Yeah, so that was when... That's how you started.
That's exactly how I started. But he mentioned that there was the need to
be grounded
and intune myself into the corporate environment, understand corporate structure, how it works, processes, people, numbers and all of that. So during that period, before my NYC was done, came back to Lagos to be in the corporate world for about a year. Really, then.
And that was before, so that means this company, let's just say your company started while you were taking on these multiple brands?
Not in a structured form. I mean, then you can just call me a consultant or a freelancer, but it was post my 1 year corporate experience that Xcentrique started.
Amazing. First of all, Seun, you're such an amazing storyteller because
I try my best.
I didn't want that story to end. Taking me through, I feel like now I know AY.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, AY, for taking us through this path.
Thank you, AY.
We can see that a lot of brands have benefited from that, experience in your life.
Right.
Okay, so I would like to ask now the importance, I think I already asked the importance of, how important what your company does is to African brands. Now, how the topic of branding, visibility, and I think you mentioned something where there are just some brands that would rather they have a customer base, a loyalty type thing, and they've really existed for long. They probably will have, or let's just say they find it hard to adapt to the reset, should I say, the digital environment, and even how to go through that. So would you say, from your experience working with brands, have the brands that you've worked with, has it been the case for most of them? Or because you said you'd rather build a story, start with some brands and be part of their storytelling and their growth. But then on the other hand, there are brands that have existed and I want to just know where you really would prefer to be, how hard, because it can be a case where you're telling people who have already existed how to do something and they can be maybe strong-headed about it and they don't even understand the dynamics, and maybe that's harder to work with.
First, I think both categories help me fulfill my mission or what I have understood to be my purpose. Maybe something I forgot to mention in terms of how important Xcentrique is to the businesses or the markets that we serve is the fact that we help them see clearly. We help them define their purpose. We give them clarity, right? In a way that it's understandable or is understood, by their target market and help them to consistently tell the stories. For us to be able to do that, it means that we need to understand our purpose, right? So both categories of the market, if we're talking about startups or if we're talking about established businesses that need to evolve or that need to be part of today's trends or part of today's realities, both help me achieve my purpose. And I will break that down again. However, in terms of the markets that we're serving, we serve 70% of the aspiring giants, the high growth startups or SMEs. Then there's a 30% of established businesses, I'd say, that are trying to come back. Now, within this category, you'll be surprised that even for high growth startups, SMEs, they don't necessarily understand the relevance of marketing and branding to their business. A large percentage of businesses we see, especially within the startup market or SME market, they have invested so much into building the product. They have invested, if we're talking about the tech industry or the fintech industry, they have invested so much in their engineering team. But when it comes to marketing, the results is expected to be quick, 2 months, 3 months.
Absolutely.
So at that point, it's we don't need marketing, we don't need branding, we just need sales. We just need to sell and get the return on investment as soon as possible. So it can be a little bit difficult to convince them. Now, there's the other side of the market that has been here for 60 years or 30 years. I've been here for 30 years. I've been selling. My revenue is okay. I mean, so we're coming to say, exactly. So what are you going to tell me? Why I don't need why do I need a brand, right? So we're now coming to say, you know what, you're here, but you can't be here, right? And we can support you to make you here. Why do you think that Coca-Cola, despite the brand equity
They still spend a
that
lot
Coca-Cola
on branding and
has.
marketing.
They keep, it's one of the most popular brands in the world,
Yeah.
but they're still advertising consistently. They spend a lot on their branding. They spend a lot on their marketing initiatives. Same as Amazon, same as Nike, same as Apple. Look at the biggest brands of the world that have been here for years and have evolved with the test of time. Same as Google, same as Microsoft. Just, I can take you on a journey of all the different brands and so many examples. We have to ask ourselves the question, why did these guys still invest in branding and marketing, despite the fact that we think that they're visible, right? So how do we convince them? I mean, between both markets, yes, they have their challenges. It can be a little bit difficult to convince, but once you have the bragging rights, I have the bragging rights, or we have the bragging rights, or we have the track record to show. These are things, like I said, the 7 years of learning, 7 years of experience. We did not start from going to, charge the most insane amount of money. We started from doing it complimentary. We started from building our case studies, if that makes any sense. Yes, that's the word. So we started from building our case studies, experimenting, trying our hands on different brands in different industries for us to test and come and say that this actually works. So if you're an aspiring giant and you're trying to scale and you're trying to move, all you need to sit down, all you need to do is sit down and ask yourself, what is my why? What is my purpose? And who am I trying to serve? And this thing that I have created, is it really solving their need? Because at the end of the day, they need to be able to buy. Value needs to be able to exchange for you to determine that you're a great brand or you're addressing any need in the market, right? So, when and that's what branding and marketing does. It helps you to find your why.
Sorry, I mean, I would love to ask, maybe for the audience and people, like maybe a business owner watching this, what would be like, what's actually the proper differentiation between branding and marketing? Okay.
So let me tell you what branding is not first, because there's some sort of misconception about branding and marketing. So branding is not your logo, it's not colors, it's not your tagline. It's a total package, or it's a total experience. All the set of activities that you do or you implement to determine how people experience you. All the set of activities that you implement that sets you apart, that differentiates you from another brand in the market. So we talk about your vision. I'm talking about your mission. I'm talking about your personality. I'm talking about how you speak, the language that you use to speak. I'm talking about your brand values. All right, I'm talking about your brand characteristics before we now even talk about your brand identity in terms of logos, colors, and all of that. That's what branding is. Marketing, on the other hand, is how you amplify it, right? So you have determined that this is your brand strategy. This is how you want your brand to be positioned or perceived in the market. And you have created that brand for a specific market segment. How do you ensure that that brand reaches that audience? Marketing helps you to do that. It helps you to understand what channel to use, when to use it, how to use it in order for that value to be exchanged.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how would you, I want to know how you, in terms of strategy before storytelling, would you say have a strategy before you start telling a story for a brand? Like, just like a yes or no question.
Yes. Yes. Practically, in response to your question, if you want me to explain further, then I'll be excited to. But yes.
Okay. So what, in your experience, what are the common strategic, blind spots that you'd see in most Nigerian businesses?
I'd say that the lack of clarity first, like the specific need or the specific problem that you're solving.
Most businesses don't have that outlined.
It sometimes feels like businesses jump on things because they think that's what is trending. They think that's what is in vogue. They think that's where you make the most money, right? So if it's real estate, I'm doing it because I want to make money. I mean, initially, yeah, that was the reason why businesses were being set up, for profitability. I mean, if you go to business schools, I did business administration in high school, and why business is set up for profitability. But the world has evolved, right, in a way where customers will choose you because they see an extension of themselves in you, because they have some sort of emotional connection with you. So the purpose just needs to be clear. And I can give examples of a large percentage of brands, global brands, that have clarity where their purpose is concerned. For example, Nike, when you think about Nike, you feel like you're unstoppable. You feel like you can do anything. Absolutely. Because Nike just says, just do it. And there's Apple that says, think different. So when you use Apple, you feel like you're sort of different, right? And you're sort of unique, especially for creative people, I'd say. And, there's Amazon, there's Google, there's Coca-Cola that started with, at some point, open happiness. When you just open it and there's that sound, you feel very happy.
Yes, you do. Yeah,
you feel very calm and all of that. So I think that lack of clarity and jumping on trends and not being able to position their product appropriately within the key market segment is a big problem. And communicating their story, telling their story in a way that there's communicating your story and telling it in a way that is consistent too as well, is a challenge that I see, especially where Nigerian brands are concerned.
Please, if you're enjoying this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on all social media platforms. Please comment if there are any questions or anything that interests you in this conversation, or any question you would like to direct to Seun, and we'll pick it up from there. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you so much, Seun, so far for this conversation. So now I'd like to ask, how do you help brands to align in their positioning, performance, and their purpose? How do you do that as a marketing agency yourself?
So you said positioning, purpose, performance. Okay, so it starts from purpose, then positioning, before performance. So for us, before anything else, we have a discovery call to understand where you are, where those 3 different journeys are concerned. Right? By asking a lot of questions, most times the 5 W's and H. So in terms of purpose, what exactly is your why? And you might have a why, but are you effectively communicating that why in a way that is relevant to your target market? Then in that discovery session, which is usually about 4 hours, right? We call it a brand essence workshop, where we're finding your essence and your soul. Interestingly, our brand promise is the soul of Africa. The soul of brands in Africa. So think of everything that your soul does, how your soul gives you life, how your soul helps you navigate from one place to another, how your soul is your consciousness. That's what we do for brands. So in that session, we're helping them discover what their soul really is. What is your heart? Because at the end of the day, like I said, customers want to be able to see themselves in your brand, in your product, in your service, or whatever you're offering. And that's what that brand strategy offers. Your vision in terms of where are you going in the next 5-10 years. And one thing that we tell brands is that your vision can change once you have achieved your vision. In terms of your mission, what do you want to do? How do you want to do it, and for whom as well? Then your value proposition, what makes you tick? What are the values that will ensure that when we experience you, when that customer experience you, it is just obviously different from every or any other brand? Why would people choose a Coca-Cola over a Pepsi? Well, people choose Pepsi over a Coca-Cola, right? So in a world of so many options, so many alternatives,
what makes you distinct?
What makes you different? So in terms of your brand archetype, and I don't think we'll have time to go over the brand archetype, right?
So those are very interesting.
Are you a heroic brand like Nike, right? Are you a ruler like Virgin Atlantic? So these are things that will. So people just see purpose and my why. I'm in the market to do this, but it's more than that. It's a holistic strategy that contributes into being your brand. So after that, you're now able to position, right? This is who we are for businesses, or this is who we are for consumers or customers, or this is who we are for children, right? So you're positioning in a way that when people think about your brand, there's something that comes to mind, right? If I talk to you about iPhone, something comes to your mind, either with pricing, either with ease. Anyway, I'm an iPhone babe. That's why I talk about iPhone or Apple babe, a lot. So at that point, a position is formed, and it just leads to performance. It's easy to sell in comparison to a brand that approaches us and says, "Oh, I want to hit 1 billion naira revenue in the next 3 months. Go out into the world and fish for me." So we have to say, hey, hold on. Let's go back. Yes. What exactly is it that you want to say? To whom? To what category of the market? How? When they think about you, what do you want them to think about? Then it just really becomes easy. And you realize if we do an examination of certain brands, they don't have to spend so much. St. Louis Sugar, for an example. I don't know when I've seen a St. Louis Sugar advert. I mean, now Dangote has been able to understand the market enough, this market enough to dominate and take over. But there was a point that we did not see any advert for St. Louis Sugar for a long time. Gary, for an example, has understood the language of the common man and has been able to navigate, to capture that market.
Now that you mention it, I can't remember when last I used St. Louis Sugar.
Well, yeah, because Dangote has been really able to capture naturally, and we don't even know. They just do it naturally and just slips up on you, and you're like, oh yeah, that's true.
That's so true. Like,
right?
I mean, that's so true. Now that you mention it,
so if you're able to just get things right, like especially positioning effectively, like get your target market so right. Performance is just easy. Customer acquisition is super easy, and you don't have to spend too much or invest so much, especially where branding and marketing is concerned.
Amazing. There's one thing I want to know. I want to learn. I want you to maybe run us through a story, like maybe a case study, right? Of a brand that you really love, like that just you really loved helping them tell their story and positioning them, like, in some way that you knew that you did achieve results for them. Would you
that's fine. Two brands. I might mention one, I might not mention the other.
That's fine.
One is in the hospitality industry, Mama Cass. Oh my God, that was such a successful campaign.
Going to ask, tell us about Mama Cass, because I just saw that.
That was such a successful campaign. This is a brand that has been in the market for 42 years. One of the first Nigerian curacao, in this market. So there was so much to tell. And there was a point of decline, as a result of the fact that they were the first, it was a brand doing so well. But like I said, the world is moving, things are changing, and because of technology, consumer preferences, consumer behavior is changing, right? And they have so many choices. So to anybody, it would definitely be a tall order. This is a market that is evolving, especially the food market or the hospitality market in Nigeria is evolving very fast. You have every roadside shop selling food. Lately, the curacao business is booming. Global brands are penetrating this market. So how does a brand that has been a bit quiet through this boom come back and say, hey, we're here? So, it was very interesting, and we went through all of the processes that I have discussed here, that 4-hour strategy in terms of how do we want to position? And we had a lot of back and forth. Do we position? Do we change our name? Do we change our color? Okay. Do we still maintain the name? Do we still maintain the previous colors? Because remember, it was yellow and green. Or do we evolve from that? Do we change our market and target more of Gen Zs? Or do we stick to the people that we had, or the customers or the market that we had previously? And we had a light bulb moment where we said, okay, it's okay to use nostalgia, right? To use a stone to kill two birds. Millennials that used to be, while we're evolving, or we're positioned as well for Gen Zs, within the market. And then where our, should I say brand strategy, service strategy is concerned, we will communicate as tradition, but in today's world. So it means that in the way that things used to be done, how things used to be done well, we still maintain that tradition, but we're being relevant, or, how do I phrase this? Doing things the way that it used to be done, but using today's techniques and trends and realities to make it happen, right? Tradition with an infusion of technology.
Yeah.
And it was an entire year's work. It was like 12 months of work and research.
12 months?
Yes, and research and understanding, which we're trying to understand the market, how their current perception of the brand, if there was any form of negative sentiment, and how to ensure that for the launch, how we're going to address that. If there were positive sentiments, even though there were more positive sentiments and all of that, then in today's world or in today's realities, what do people like to have? And we realized that customer experience was one challenge that a large percentage of people were facing, especially with Nigerian brands. And I'm not going to just say food brands. And, there was the storytelling side of things. What was the promise that we were going to share with people when they come to experience us again? How are they going to trust that when they come to experience the new brand, we're not going to take them to the old, and we're going to ensure that we're reinforcing some sort of sustainability. Summarizing everything, we launched the Mama Cass's Back campaign last year, and it was so successful. Like the nostalgia. So there was nostalgia among millennials, and there was the fear of missing out among Gen Zs, everybody can remember it, and we didn't have to invest so much. The traction that was gotten was very much organic. And I'm talking about, let's even talk about the vanity stuff, from impressions to likes to engagement online. Was in millions, right? In millions of people relating to the brand that it was, and very excited for what's to come. Right. And the Mama Cass's Back was, and people like a good comeback story, right? You came back, you didn't let the environment, regulation, you didn't let anything hold you back. You came back and came back stronger in a way that was good, because we had to ensure that everything, the physical experience, was reflective of the story that we were telling. That is the importance of branding. And we came back as the home for food lovers. So it's like home is back. Do you understand? And because, you remember what home means to you, and it's something that you want to experience. And even with the physical traction, so I'm talking now about the impactful stuff where business growth is concerned. In the physical traction, a growth where revenue was concerned was also impacted. And that's what happens when you tell a good brand story. And brand story is not just in the words, right? You've built a good brand, you've built a good product. So the story just really becomes very easy. Another brand quickly is a leading technology company. Then the brand had been in existence for about 30 years. One of the first, especially where technology distribution in this market is concerned. So when we were having a conversation, it was more of, now we are positioned as an elephant. How do we evolve from being an elephant to being a cheetah? Right. So that was the task, right? Because this was a brand that was being referenced or referred to as the Google of Africa, right? So to tell you how much impact or street credibility this brand had. And we did a customer perceptual audit, and we saw that people were comfortable with the experience. They were confident in the fact that they had been here for a long time, but we saw a lot of outdated, right? We saw a lot of old. So we had to revamp that old, or change that perception of being old into more of sustaining that experience perception. But the experience means we're able to evolve with the test of time. I mean, if you're being compared to a Google, look at a Google, they keep evolving through the trends and through times and all of that. So through that perceptual audit, it led to an entire brand transformation campaign in terms of the vision, in terms of the mission, in terms of the brand promise, right? In terms of the application of the brand collaterals or the different customer touch points, how they look, how they feel in line with current trends. Then now presenting the brand across different channels, on digital, on social, the kind of videos that you use. But there was also using one bird to kill two stones, because this was a brand that had been in the market for a long time. So it's like, when are we going to get this money back? So there's always that question. Yes, exactly. As a marketing professional, then it was, how do I show that this is important? And yes, I'll make this money for you. So there was also finding different channels for return on investment on the marketing spend. For example, event marketing, direct marketing, creating intellectual properties in terms of events for the brand to be able to talk to their customers directly and sell or project the new brand directly. Another interesting part was to ensure that the brand was able to evolve or play successfully with current trends, was supporting the brand and setting up, a fintech side of things. Remember we were talking about fintech too as well, right? So it had a lot of IPs, so platform businesses too as well, that were hidden under the brand. So it was separating that as a company so that it can play fairly with the brands that have been in the market for 10 years in comparison to hiding under a brand that has been here for 30 years. And the successes were, very much interesting. Not working with the brand anymore, but the growth has been amazing. There was the right team. There was the opportunity to embrace change, because not many organizations that have been in the market for as long as the brand has been in the market will be open to change and all the positive things that change brings and all of that. And they're reaping the reward in multiples, in billions, in growth in terms of shares and all of that. And it has just been interesting and rewarding to see. Yeah, I have more stories, but we're just going to stop at that. I can talk to you all day.
Yeah, I can tell you love it. Okay, so as we are rounding up now, and there's one final question I'm going to ask you.
Okay.
What mindset shifts should any business have in terms of, like, if they want to achieve global relevance, using branding as a strategy and marketing as a strategy as well for visibility? What are the mindset shifts that they need to have in order to make this work with the right people?
I'd say that in terms of mindset shift, they need to forget everything that the global space is saying about Africa. So I'm guessing that you're talking about businesses in Africa, right?
Yes.
So they need to unlearn everything that the global market has said about Africa, right? And relearn our current reality. Things are moving fast. Gone are the days where Made in Africa was affiliated with things that were substandard or substandard below standard and all of that. There's a high and huge appreciation for African products now, for Made in Africa. And we can see that the markets that are embracing this, supporting this and promoting it are reaping the rewards. For those of us that are in Africa or that have not had the opportunity to go beyond the shores of Africa, I feel like there's some sort of blindsidedness to it, right? Those of them that have championed the Export Africa campaign, when they go to the global stage, they're so proud of Africa and they promote the African narrative. But when they come back, they join everybody that is here to talk about the terrible things about Africa. And we're so blindsided not to know that this is their strategy, right? And I was also talking about the different industries that are beginning to benefit from it. There's Afrobeats, for an example.
Absolutely.
Made in Africa for Afrobeats being exported to the world is going insane.
It is.
There's fashion too.
Yeah.
There's Made in Africa where fashion is concerned.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. And the value that the founders that are placing on their Made in African fashion brand, it's crazy, man. And they are not even being apologetic about it. Right. There is fintech, right? And we have a lot of interest in that from the beginning. They had positioned themselves as global payments brands, like a Flutter Wave, like a Paystack, even Moneypoint. Moneypoint didn't even start from the global perspective, right? They started from local, now they're global. If you understand. If you understand what I am talking about.
Do, yeah.
So we need to forget everything we think and relearn and focus on Africa's reality now. Africa is being appreciated, and we're confusing the global market by talking about everything that is bad about Africa, but through their experience, because of the other things that Africans are already there, because of the other things that they're doing, they're a bit confused. So we need to come together and say that this is the African story. This is who we are, especially where businesses are concerned, and tell that story. But everything that has to do with our dirty laundry, right?
Need to put it
Let's
aside.
keep it within us.
Okay.
Let's put it aside. Let's keep it within us. But we sell the African dream the same way. I mean, look at all the crazy things that are happening with, America and right now the US, the crazy things from tariff to Epstein to gun laws and all of that. But the American dream is still being sold and people are dying to get into America. So Africa needs to get to that point that we say that this is our story, and wherever we are, whether we're in Africa or we're abroad, we stick to it. And the implications of that has numerous rewards. At that point, we're not being positioned as substance. I'm sorry, it's not just about our story. Of course, our product has to be great where standards are concerned, really. And that perception that everything related to Africa is somewhat associated with poverty or is substandard will begin to change, right? But
it has already
it has started to change, but it can change a lot faster.
Yeah, it can.
If we just pause and just rethink things and know that every country has their own mess, but they've mastered the art of branding, PR, storytelling so well that, and the confidence to even tell their story so well that you're not even focused on the bad side. You're just focused on the positive side and the great things about their country.
That's true.
We need to get to that point as businesses, as people, for us to be relevant globally.
Wow. Thank you so much, Seun.
Thank you.
For
Thank you,
a
Joy.
wonderful conversation. This is, yet another reminder. Like I said at the beginning of this episode, we had just a previous episode, which I think will be linked to this on this side of the video, where we spoke about, storytelling, as how important storytelling is in Africa today, because nobody can tell our stories as well as we would. And we should not let other people tell it for us. We need to put the things aside, put whatever has been said aside, let the past be the past, or whatever it is that we even have currently that may be our flaws. We have to work past it. Like, that's really what self-development is about, and the characteristics of self-development can be applied, as a people as well. And thank you so much, Sharon, for,
thank you, Joy.
Your experience and sharing all of these things with us. And thank you so much for watching this episode of FemmeBiz. My name is Joy Abia. I remain your host. And if you enjoyed this video, please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow us on all our social media platforms. It's B360 TV on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and LinkedIn. Right. So that is bye for now. Thank you so much for joining us.